Peace, Shalom. It's your brother Shemayala. First, I want to give all praises, glory, honor, and thanksgiving to Yahweh, Bahashim, Mashak, Yahushua, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. And this lesson here, I'm going to be drawing some, parallels between the death of Samson and the death of the Messiah, Hamashiach Yahushua. Okay, so let's just get started, and this may be pretty interesting. It's a breakdown of a parable. It's like a parable, you know what I'm saying? The death of Samson foreshadows, the death of the Messiah. So let's get started. This is Judges chapter 16, verse 22. It says, "Howbeit the hair of his head began to grow again after he was shaven." Alright. Verse 23 says, "Then the lords of the Philistines gathered them together for to offer a great sacrifice unto Dagon their god, and to rejoice, for they said, Our God hath delivered Samson our enemy into our hand." Alright. So anytime Israel does something wicked, and they go off from the law, and they're being taken into captivity, then that's the heathen's opportunity to make their God seem like as if they're real, man. But we all know they just idols. They're false gods. They're not real. But see, since the heathen don't know no better, it's like it makes it appear to be as if they're gods, that they have set up to be gods for themselves, are actually, real or in existence. This is verse 24. It said, "And when the people saw him, they praised their God, for they said, Our God hath delivered into our hands our enemy, and the destroyer of our country." So they call Samson the destroyer of their country. Okay? So how can we parallel that with the Lord? Let's get this here in Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 7. It says, "The lion is come up from his thicket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles," you see, "is on his way." That's talking about the Hamashiach Yahushua, man. So here in the scriptures, we see parallel taking place with the Lord being called the destroyer of the Gentiles, and Samson being called the destroyer of their country, talking about the Philistines. Alright? So the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. He is gone forth from his place to make thy land desolate, and thy cities shall be laid waste without an inhabitant. So that's what's gonna come, man. That's what the Lord is coming to do. Okay? He ain't coming to build no cities up. He ain't coming to make America great again. He coming to destroy America and completely wipe America off the map. Alright? He is the destroyer of the Gentiles, just like Samson. Let's go back. Just like Samson, man, who was a destroyer of the country of the Philistines. Okay? The Lord is going to be the destroyer of you Gentiles. Alright? Judges 16 and 24. "And when the people saw him, they praised their God, for they said, Our God hath delivered into our hands our enemy, and the destroyer of our country, which slew many men," man. You see? Samson slew a whole lot of they people, man. He is a destroyer of their country. Alright? So we see the same thing with the Lord being the destroyer of the Gentiles. Alright, let's get this here in verse 25, man. Alright, drawing parallels here. It says, and it came to pass when their hearts were merry. Okay, you know, and this is the same thing when you look at the elect too, man. Their hearts were made merry after they had caught Samson. Let's get that, man, real quick, man. Because you know the elect is the body of the Messiah. So when we talk about the body, we still talking about the Messiah. You know what I'm saying? Let's get that real quick. What's that? Verse 10? Yeah. Revelation 11 and 10, man. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them. You see, they rejoice that they had us in captivity. They rejoice, man. They had the opportunity to be rulers over us, man. So they can have a good lifestyle, so they can prosper. So that's why they rejoice, man. And that's why the scriptures say, "In thee shall all nations be blessed." It ain't cause, you know, we did something great for them. It was cause they had us as slaves, man, throughout every country in this earth. You know, they rejoiced over us, man. And because we was captives in their countries, they were able to be blessed, to prosper in their land. You know, to fornicate with Babylon, to commit fornication, man, spiritual fornication. It says, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth, man. So they rejoiced, man, just like they did with Samson. Let's go back to it again, man. Alright. Judges 16:25. And it came to pass when their hearts were merry, that they said, call for Samson, that he may make us sport. What's that mean, make sport, man? Hold that. Let's get that word in the Hebrew. Okay. That he may make us sport. Alright. Let's see. Shakwak. Or Shakach. Alright. Yeah, Shakach. Alright, in the Hebrew, man.
Sahak.
Turn it up, man.
Sahak.
Yeah, so Shakach. Alright. Which means what? Play, laugh, rejoice, scorn, sport, merry, mock, deride, derision, mockers. Okay? A primitive root to laugh. In pleasure or detraction. In pleasure or detraction, by implication, to play, deride, having derision, laugh, make merry, mock. Play, rejoice, laugh, to scorn, make and make, be and make sport. So what? Basically, he basically was there to be made fun of, man. Alright? That's what it said. And it came to pass when their hearts were merry, that they said, call for Samson, that he may make us sport. You see? That so Samson can be an example of mockery and being had in derision. That's what they brought forth Samson for, so they could point the finger and laugh and like, ha ha, you know what I'm saying? This is what you get, basically. Okay? We making fun of you, Samson. We making fun of you, man. So he was brought out to be made fun of. Now, how we draw a parallel with the Lord, man? Okay? As the Lord was about to be put to death, or to lay his life down, actually. Alright, let's go to Matthew. Let's go to Matthew, man. Going to Matthew 27, Verse 27. Okay, it says, then the soldiers of the governor took Yahushua into the common hall. Okay, that's the governor's house. And it said, and gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers. Verse 28. And they stripped him and put on him a scarlet robe. Verse 29. When they had plaited a crown of thorns, they put it upon his head, and a reed in his right hand. And they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, you see, saying, Hail, King of the Jews. So they was making fun of him, man, and they wasn't doing it in a way where they actually was reverencing him and showing actual honor and respect towards the Lord. They was doing it in mockery. You know what I'm saying? Just like they was doing with Samson. They brought him out before they was about to set him between the two pillars. Okay, and push those pillars apart to lay down the house and kill all them Philistines. Before they put Samson between them pillars, they brought him out to be mocked, man. Just like with the Lord, before they set him up to be on that cross between the two thieves, they brought him out to be mocked. Okay, trying to draw the parallels so y'all can see this through the Spirit, man. Okay, verse 30, it says, and they spit upon him and took the reed and smote him on the head. You see, they just doing all kind of stuff, man, to make the Lord look bad. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Samson. Alright, verse 31, and after that they had mocked him, you see, and after that they had mocked him, they took the robe off from him and put his own raiment on him and led him away to crucify him. So you see how just the same thing with Samson, man. Let's go back. Alright, Judges 16. Alright, verse 25. And it came to pass when their hearts were merry that they said, Call for Samson, that he may make us sport. Okay, so they can mock him. It says, and they called for Samson out of the prison house. So you see, just like Samson came out of the prison house, Hamashiach came out of the common hall to be sent away to be crucified, man. Okay, let's go back to that. Let's get let me see here. Where's it at here? It's I think it's back in Matthew. Yeah, well, we'll go to Mark. Let's go to Mark, man. So just how the Lord was led, just how Samson was led out of that prison house. Okay, the Lord was led out of that common hall. Okay. Mark 15 and 16. It says, let's start at 15. And so Pilate, willing to content the people, released Barabbas unto them and delivered Yahushua when he had scourged him to be crucified. Verse 16. And the soldiers led him away into the hall called Praetorium, I think. Alright, let me see how to say that, man. Quick. Praetorium.
Praetorion.
Praetorion, okay. Or Praetorium, because it ends with an M. I don't know why I said. Well, that's the Greek way to say it.
Praetorion.
Yeah, Praetorion, the Greek way to say it. Which is what? Judgment hall, hall of judgment, common hall, praetorium palace. Of Latin origin, the praetorium or governor's courtroom, sometimes including the whole edifice and camp, common judgment hall, judgment palace, praetorium. Okay? So you see, just like Samson was let out of that prison house, we see the Lord right here being led out of the common hall, the praetorium. Okay? And they called together the whole band. Alright? So what? After he was led out of that praetorium, after he was mocked in that praetorium, okay, they let him out to be crucified. Alright, so let's go back. Judges 16. Alright, verse 25. And it came to pass when their hearts were merry, that they said, call for Samson, that he may make us sport. And they called for Samson out of the prison house. Alright. He made them sport. Alright, so once he was out of that prison house, they made sport of him. Alright. It says, and they set him between the pillars. See? So after they made sport of him, just like after they mocked the Lord, they set Samson between the two pillars. So after the Lord was mocked, what? They sent him away to be crucified between two thieves. Right? So it says, and he made them sport, and they set him between the pillars. Okay? So let's get that in Matthew. Again, man. Matthew 27. Just going line upon line, man. Matthew 27. So then the soldiers of the governor took Yahushua into the common hall and gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers, and they stripped him and put on him a scarlet robe. And when they had plaited a crown of thorns, they put it upon his head, and a reed in his right hand, and they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, saying, Hail, King of the Jews! And they spit upon him and took the reed and smote him on the head. And after that they had mocked him, they took the robe off from him and put his own raiment on him and led him away to crucify him. Okay, so after you see the Lord getting mocked, okay, they led him away to get crucified between those two thieves. And just like Samson, they took him out that prison house to be made sport of. Okay, and to set him between the two pillars. Alright. So verse 26, Judges 16:26. And Samson said unto the lad that held him by the hand. You see, Samson had help, man, from this young lad. I said, suffer me that I may feel the pillars whereupon the house standeth, that I may lean upon them. Okay. So Samson had help, man. He had help being led to the pillars, and he had help to be able to put his hands upon those pillars. Okay. Now, how do we parallel that with the Lord? Let's get it, man. Back to Matthew 27. All right, line upon line, man. And always keep looking. Should know by heart by now. Matthew 27 and start at verse 32, man. It says, and And as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name. Him they compelled to bear his cross. You see? So just like Samson had help by that young lad to be led between those two pillars, so he could feel his hands upon those pillars. Likewise, Hamashiach Yahushua had help by Simon the Cyrene, man, to bear his cross. So you see how that parallels, man? The word is deep, man. You know what I'm saying? you can't make this stuff up, man. This is real. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why these guys out here that's non-messianic. You know what I'm saying? I don't see how you could be non-messianic, man, when you have the scriptures that just tie together like this. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous, man. But we continuing on, man. So you see, the Lord had help, just like Samson. It says, and as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name. Him they compelled to bear his cross. Alright. It says, and when they were come unto a place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place of a skull. Okay. They gave him vinegar to drink, mingled with gall. And when he had tasted thereof, he would not drink. And they crucified him, and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots. Okay? So yeah, you see, Lord had help, just like Samson had help from the young lad. Okay, let's go back to that. Judges 16:26, man. And Samson said unto the lad that held him by the hand, so he was being guided, because remember, Samson's eyes was plucked out, man. So he couldn't see where he was going, so the lad led him. Okay? And Samson said unto the lad that held him by the hand, suffer me that I may feel the pillars whereupon the house standeth, that I may lean upon them. Okay? So Samson got help, man. Got help from the lad, like the Messiah got help from Cyrene, Simon the Cyrene, to carry the cross up to Golgotha, which is also called Calvary. Alright. So here, verse 27, it says, now the house was full of men and women, and all the lords of the Philistines were there, and there were upon the roof about 3,000 men and women that beheld while Samson made sport. Okay? So you see, we just got spectators here. We got spectators, people, you know, observing and watching Samson make sport, you know, be made mocked at, be made fun of, you know, things like that. So how we draw a parallel with that in the scripture? Let's go back to Matthew. Matter of fact, we're going to Luke this time. Going to Luke, man. So here, what we have. It says the house was full of men and women, right? So now let's go to Luke. Luke 23, man. Start at verse 27. It says, start at 26. It says, and as they held him away, Salah, and as they led him away, they laid hold upon one Simon, a Cyrenian, coming out of the country, and on him they laid the cross, that he might bear it after Yahushua. Okay, verse 27. And there followed him a great company, you see, of people, and of women, which also bewailed and lamented him. So you see how the Lord was being bewailed and lamented. Samson was being made sport, and you had all these spectators around the Lord as he was being led up to Golgotha, while the lad was leading him between the two pillars. And now that's talking about Samson, but while Simon was carrying his cross and being led to Calvary, okay, or Golgotha, you had all these spectators. You had the great company of people and women bewailing and lamenting him. So just like with Samson, all right, you had what? You had all these people. You had a house full of men and women, okay, and all the lords of the Philistines were there, okay. And there were upon the roof about 3,000 men and women that beheld while Samson made sport. So while the Lord also was being made sport by having to carry his cross and be humiliated all the way up to Golgotha, you had all these men and women observing and being spectators and watching. You see what I'm saying? So the story is parallel, man. Let's go back. And I'm going to go back to that house too. You know what I'm saying? This house is also parallel in the Lord story. Okay. So you had passerbys and standbyers, people on standby watching, you know, just being spectators of what's going on, not really, you know, being busybodies, just like these people here in Judges 16:27. The house being full of men and women, just watching, you know what I'm saying, just going out to do something because they ain't got nothing else better to do, you know what I'm saying. So it's like, all right, we're going back to Luke chapter 23. Just, you know, kind of solidifying even more, you know what I'm saying, how the story is parallel. 23 verse 27. Luke 23:27. And there followed him a great company of people and of women, which also bewailed and lamented him. Okay. Verse 28. But Yahushua turning unto them said, so you see, the way they was bewailing and lamenting him, you know, it's like they was kind of feeling sorry for the Lord. But the Lord's like, don't feel sorry for me. You know what I'm saying? But here, this is what he said. But Yahushua turning unto them said, daughters of Jerusalem, weep not for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming in the which they shall say, blessed are the barren, and the wombs that never bear, and the paps which never gave suck. Then shall they begin to say to the mountains, fall on us, and to the hills, cover us. For if they do these things in the green tree, what shall be done in the dry? So the Lord's like, if they do these things in a prosperous time, how much more a time where it's not prosperous and you know, it's plenty and things are all good. You know what I'm saying? So the Lord's kind of like, he's pointing a finger back at him, and he's like, hey, you thinking this is bad, well, just wait. You know what I'm saying? So the Lord ain't bite his tongue at this moment here. You know what I'm saying? He let him know something coming to you that's worse. You know? Alright, so let's go back, man. Judges 16. So we see how the same way Samson had spectators, the Lord had spectators. He had a great company. Alright, the Lord had a great company of men and women on standby watching him as he was being led to his death. Just like Samson, you know, had a great company of people, a house full of Philistines, over 3,000, watching him make sport as he was being led to his death. You know, Judges 16:27. Now the house was full of men and women, and all the lords of the Philistines were there, and there were upon the roof about 3,000 men and women that beheld while Samson made sport. Verse 28. And Samson called unto the Lord and said, O Lord God, remember me, I pray thee, and strengthen me. I pray thee only this once, O God, that I may be at once avenged of the Philistines for my 2 eyes. So you see here, as Samson is already between the pillars, okay, he calls out unto the Most High, just like, let's parallel that with the Lord. Okay, alright, let's get this Matthew 27 again. Matthew 27 verse 46. Alright, so this is after the Lord put on the cross. Just like how Samson, after he was put between the 2 pillars, the Lord cries out unto the Most High as well. You know what I'm saying? Matthew 27:46. And about the 9th hour, Yahushua cried with a loud voice, saying, Alayah, Alayah, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? So you see just how the Lord calling upon the Most High. We have Samson doing the same thing. As the Lord was between his 2 thieves on that cross, right? Samson was between the 2 pillars, calling out to the Most High. You see, same thing, man. Like I said, you can't make this up, man. You know? Judges 16 verse 28, man. And Samson called unto the Lord and said, O Lord God, remember me, I pray thee, and strengthen me, I pray. Alright, just making sure I record. It says, and strengthen me, I pray thee only this once, O God, that I may be at once avenged of the Philistines for my 2 eyes. Okay? So again, Samson calling upon the Most High just like the Lord did on that cross. Alright? Alright, verse 29. It says, and Samson took hold of the 2 middle pillars upon which the house stood, and on which it was borne up, of the one with his right hand, and of the other with his left. You see? So likewise, the Lord was set between 2 thieves. Alright, one on the left and one on the right. Let's get that. Let's get that in Mark chapter 15 verse 27. It says, and with him Salak, and with him they crucify 2 thieves, the one on his right hand and the other on his left. You see that? So as the Lord was stretched out on that cross, he had one thief on his right and the other thief on his left, man. You know, like I say, you can't make this up, man. This parallels perfectly. You know. Let's get Matthew 27 and 38. Matthew 27 and 38, man. It says, then were there 2 thieves crucified with him, one on the right hand and the other on the left, man. You see? The stories fit together perfect, man. Now, back to Judges 16, man. Judges 16 and verse 30. It says, and Samson said, let me die with the Philistines. And he bowed himself with all his might. And the house fell upon the walls and upon all the people that were therein. So the dead which he slew at his death were more than they which he slew in his life. You see? Now, let's parallel that with the Lord, man. Let's put it together. It says, and Samson said, let me die with the Philistines. And he bowed himself with all his might. Now let's get that, man. In John. Alright, John 19. John 19, verse 30. When Yahushua therefore had received the vinegar, he said, it is finished. You see? He said, it is finished. So just like Samson said, let me die with the Philistines, the Lord said, it is finished. And as Samson bowed his head with all his might, the Lord did what? And he bowed his head and gave up the ghost. Man, you can't, yo, man. You see how the stories go together, man? Man, that's something else right there. So the same way Samson said, let me die with the Philistines, the Lord's like, it is finished. And then Samson's like, he bowed his head, he bowed with all his might. And as he bowed his head with all his might, the Lord bowed his head and said, gave up the ghost. Back to Judges, man. Judges 16, verse 30. And Samson said, let me die with the Philistines. And he bowed himself with all his might. You see? And the house fell upon the lords and upon all the people that were therein. So hold on. After Samson bows his head, after he bows himself with all his might, okay, he pushed them two pillars apart, man. And then what? And the house fell upon the lords. So he destroyed that house, man. Okay? Now, when Samson destroyed the house and it fell upon the lords, the Messiah likewise did similar. Okay? Let's get that. Matthew 27. Matthew 27, man. Start at verse 39. Says, and they that passed by reviled him, wagging their heads and saying, thou that destroyest the temple and buildest it in 3 days, save thyself if thou be the Son of God, come down from the cross. But see, this is the thing. When the Lord said he was going to destroy the temple, he was talking about his body. Okay? Well, he didn't say he was going to destroy the temple. He was saying, he was talking to them and saying, destroy this temple and in 3 days I'm going to bring it back up. Okay? So he was saying to them, if you destroy me, I'm going to come back in 3 days, basically. You know what I'm saying? But what happened, but something else happened, okay, when, as soon as the Lord bowed his head and gave up the spirit. Okay? Let's get that in, I think it's in verse 50. Verse 50. Yeah, it says, Yahushua, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. That's when he said, it is finished. Okay? He yielded up the ghost, and verse 51 says, and behold, the veil of the temple, you see, was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent. You see? So what happened to the temple that Samson pushed apart? I'm sure them rocks broke up, man, and people died. Okay? So you see, the same thing happened, man, with the Lord. The veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent. Okay? So that's what happened, man. So in a way, the Lord did destroy the temple. Okay? And not only that, let's get that in Matthew 24. Because once the Lord was put on that cross, man, he set forth in motion that prophecy in Matthew 24. Okay? To come to pass. It started with him, man. Because he prophesied it. Matthew 24:1. And Yahushua went out and departed from the temple. And his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yahushua said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Okay? So he basically, when he was crucified, he set that in motion. And then what? I think it was about 40 years later. Okay? The Romans came and destroyed the temple in 70 AD, man. Destroyed it. So likewise, man, you see, just like Samson, man, destroyed that temple, destroyed that house that was full of the lords. Okay? The Lord himself did the same, man. Destroyed the temple, man. It was rent in twain. Okay, and the rocks rent. It was an earthquake. As soon as he gave up the ghost or the spirit, man. All right. He said, "It is finished." Bowed his head and gave up the spirit, just like Samson here. All right. He said, "Let me die with the Philistines," and he bowed himself with all his might, and he pulled down that house, man. Just like the Lord, man. He pulled down that temple. He rent that curtain in twain, and he rented he separated it, you know. All right, from the top to the bottom. It says, and Samson said, "Let me die with the Philistines," and he bowed himself with all his might, and the house fell upon the lords and upon all the people that were therein. So the dead which he slew at his death were more than they which he slew in his life. Verse 31. Then his brethren and all the house of his father came down and took him and brought him up and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol, in the burying place of Manoah his father, and he judged Israel 20 years. Alright, so likewise, man, the Lord was taken down off that cross and buried and put in that sepulcher. Matthew 27, verse 57. When the evening was come, there came a rich man of Arimathea named Joseph, who also himself was Yahushua's disciple. So you see how, you know, Samson's father came to get him, but a rich man named Joseph of Arimathea, okay, who had the same name as his actual father, biological dad, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, it parallels perfectly, man, you know. It says, when the even was come, there came a rich man of Arimathea named Joseph, who also himself was Yahushua's disciple. Alright. Verse 58. He went to Pilate and begged the body of Yahushua. Then Pilate commanded the body to be delivered. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had hewn out in the rock. And he rolled a great stone to the door of the sepulchre and departed. And it says, and there was Mary Magdalene and the other Mary sitting over against the sepulchre. Alright. So with that, you know, hope y'all was edified and y'all see the parallels, man. Because, you know, I mean, they fit perfectly together. You know what I'm saying? Line upon line. When you go line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, you get the understanding, and you see how the stories fit together. All right, man. With that, I want to say peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, and all praises, glory, honor, and thanksgiving to Yahweh, Bahashem, Mashiach, Yahushua, Shalom.